Today we are very, very lucky to hear from Stan Ricks. Stan Ricks has over 30 years of real estate development and investing experience. During his career, he has bought, sold, managed, leased, built, and capitalized over $500 million worth in real estate ventures. He is formerly the CEO of Trophy Homes, where he built over 2,000 homes during his tenure with the company. He is a current owner and/or investor in office buildings, retail centers, mobile home parks, residential land, and multifamily properties. Additionally, he has been an early investor in a number of startup companies such as Omniture, Zuka Juice, and Altius Health Plan. Did I say that right? Mr. Ricks received his bachelor's in estate and financial planning from that other school down the road, Brigham Young University, where he taught from 2000 to 2011 as an adjunct professor teaching advanced real estate development and investing courses. And I've only known Stan for the last couple minutes that we've been waiting for this class, but I can assure you that he's entertaining, very knowledgeable, and very nice to listen to. So if we could all give a warm welcome to Stan Ricks.
Well, it's great to be with you today. And first of all, let me just apologize for the BYU part of this, okay? Okay, well, just ignore that, okay? Just pretend that's not there. Do you call that, what, the institution to the east? Is that what we call it here? As Urban Meyer used to say of UVU, the school to the south. He'd never say the name of BYU, but I actually taught a class at BYU for the past 12 years, up until just a few years ago. And gave a version of this lecture many times down there in my class over about 24, 30 semesters I taught there. And I used to call it Stan's Secrets of Success, okay, but I changed the name for this class because after the past 4 or 5 years, now I call it Survival Tales, okay? Because the real estate market, I've been very active in the real estate market for many, many years, and it's been a survival time. Actually, from about 2008 to about 2012, especially about 4 or 5 years, very, very tough going, and learned a lot of interesting lessons. So let me just run through background real quick. I'm married, been married for 33 years. I think it's going to work still. I got 6 great kids, 5 at BYU, 1 at the U, 5 crazy grandkids. We just went to Disneyland last week. That was wacko, I tell you that. We only lost our 1 grandkid for 10 minutes one time. So we were pretty happy about that. I'm a trail runner, distance runner, mountain climber, hiker. I've run about 20 marathons. My best time is 2:59. Felt pretty good about that. That was a long time ago, though. I can't run that fast anymore. Mountain road biker, 5 Ironman races. Did a 50-mile trail race. I love to downhill, backcountry, cross-country ski, river running, sailing, golf, and I'm a goofball, okay? I like to goof around. I like to have fun. Currently active in church community. I'm a volunteer at the MTC right now. I taught at BYU for 12 years. I lived and worked through 5 major business cycles over the past 35 years. Last of all, I like to say I'm a survivor. And it's not an easy thing to be a survivor, believe me. But today I want to talk primarily about overcoming obstacles and looking for opportunities instead of obstacles. Let me just tell a quick story. As I mentioned, I worked as a Grand Canyon River guide. That's how I got my way through school, and run many rivers. Run the Grand Canyon about 54 times. Run the Middle Fork of the Salmon, Maine Salmon, Westwater Canyon, et cetera, lots of different rivers. And if anybody ever run Westwater Canyon on the Colorado River, okay? If anybody's ever run this, down by Moab, actually probably the hairiest experience I ever had on the river was running Westwater. It was only a 1-day trip. I had a bunch of friends that wanted to take a trip, and I said, hey, we'll go down there with just a simple little trip, and it's a little 1 day. And we went down there, and we got to the put in, and noticed the water was pretty high. It was just in June. This was in 1983. Water was really high water years. And we went on downstream, and we noticed it was getting higher and higher by the minute. And we got ways downstream, and I noticed, man, this is really much, much higher than I was used to. And there's a rapid in Westwater called Skull Rapid. And Skull Rapid, the setup for Skull Rapid is the canyon walls narrow down from maybe 300 feet wide to about maybe 80 or 90, maybe 100 feet wide. So the river just sluices down into this, almost a sluice box. And as you get into Skull Rapid, there's a great big huge hole in the middle of the river. Hole is where water washes over rock and kicks back, creates this big huge standing wave back curl. And at lower water you can go right and you can go left, but you can't go in the middle. At higher water, the rapid, the hole pretty much extends almost across the whole river, except for there's a little bit of a little entryway to the left. And as I was working as river guide and learning to run Skull, one of the river guides told me, I said, now Chris, I said, do you run left or right at Skull? He said, Stan, your entire purpose in life is to go left at Skull. I go, oh no. So we get down there, and Skull has this great big hole, and there's a little slot to the left. And just beyond the hole, after you get through the hole, the river rushes up against this big, huge rock, this cliff, and it turned like a hard left-hand turn. It's called the Rock of Shock, okay? And about half the water hits the Rock of Shock, and high water, it'll pillow up against this cliff, and literally 10, 15, 20 feet high almost. And about half the water goes left on downstream. The other half of the water goes right into this round room, like here. And it's called the Room of Doom, okay? So first of all, you have the hole at Skull you got to avoid, and then you got the Rock of Shock. Once you get through, if you get past the hole, and if you hit the Rock of Shock, about half the time you go left, and the other half you go right. If you get into the Room of Doom, you get stuck. At a high water, you get stuck, and you literally can't get out. I've had 3 friends on 3 different occasions that got stuck in the Room of Doom, and they had to abandon their boat. They had to climb up the cliff, go downstream, jump in the water, go out, come back and get the raft later. Half the time the raft is there, half the time the raft is gone. So your entire purpose in life is to avoid the hole at Skull and the Rock of Shock. So, and we're with this group. We hit another rapid just above the Skull, about a mile above it, called Funnel Falls. Well, we went through it, and one of my buddies flipped his raft. And he had about 8 people in the raft. And I rowed over, I got everybody in my raft. I had about 4 or 5 people in my raft. And in the meantime, we're going through the rapids, filling full of water. And the boat is getting more full and more full all the time with water. And I had 14 people in my raft and full of water. I figured the raft weighed probably about 2 tons at this point in time. And as we were headed down to the rapids, some of the people said, where's Skull, where's Skull? I said, it's right there. And it was about 300 yards straight ahead. And I knew I had to get left. Whatever I did, I had to get left. So I had Buck, when my friend grabbed the oars, he grabbed one set of oars, I grabbed the other set of oars, and we're pulling together, and we started spinning in circles. I finally said, get off, and I pushed, and I started just rowing for all it's worth. And what I needed to do, there's a little bit of a put-in, just above the rapid. There's a little teeny spin, maybe a 10-foot beach that you can pull in. I was hoping it was going to be there at high water, because I hadn't seen it that high. And so I knew whatever I did, I had to make that put in. I had to get that pull over. So I pulled for all I was worth, and I don't know how I did it, but somehow I managed to pull over just above the hole, but just above the Skull Rapid. We got in, we looked out, you see this massive hole. Long story short, we ended up having another boat came in, we put some people on there, and we made it down through. We went left, we missed Rock of Shock, missed the Room of Doom, all that kind of stuff, and finally went on downstream. But as I thought about that later, the thing that was interesting to me was that I didn't focus on the hole at Skull, on the Rock of Shock, and definitely not the dreaded Room of Doom. What I focused on was that little put-in, that little teeny pullover that I knew I had to make, no matter what. Over the next 2 weeks, 3 people drowned at Skull Rapid. In fact, one of my good friends, who's another boatman, took his family down. First time he'd ever take his family down. He flipped in Skull. His mother drowned in Skull Rapid. So it was a serious deal. But the key to it was I focused on the beach. I focused on where I had to go, not where I didn't have to go. So what I want to talk about today is focusing on opportunities, not obstacles. And the same thing, I mentioned I'm a powder skier. When I teach people how to ski powder, I love to ski the trees. And the first thing, you get people in the trees and they go, well, where do you go? I said, look for the openings, not for the trees. Look for the openings, not the trees. If you focus on the trees, what happens? You hit the trees. If you focus, you hit whatever you're focused on. So through these past 6 or 7 years, I've been doing real estate development for about 35 years now, and investing, et cetera. And I've been through, again, 5 different cycles. There's been nothing like 08, 09, okay? Let me just continue here. So at the beginning, I graduated in financial planning from BYU. I'm a partner in a financial planning firm. We started developing Jamestown office complex down on University Avenue, 50 with Provo, in 1984. At the time we started, the interest rates were 14.75%. You couldn't beg, borrow, or steal a loan. We finally found an outfit out of Philadelphia that was willing to offer us a loan at 14.75%, and we did backflips. We were so excited, we couldn't believe we got a loan. The market was dead as a doornail. We were the only building permit in several months throughout 1984, 85. We were the only building permit taken out in the entire city of Provo for multiple months. It was dead as a doornail. But we decided we got the loan, and we proceeded ahead. We built one building, then we built another one, et cetera. And after a while, I decided I really preferred real estate development over financial planning. Sold out my financial planning partnership to my partner, and have been doing real estate development ever since, full-time since 1989. We started Trophy Homes in Las Vegas in 1989. We built about 2,000 homes in Las Vegas and about 2,000 homes here in Utah from 1990 to 2008. Fortunately, we sold our Trophy Homes Vegas operation in 2006 to the poor souls that bought it, and they went bankrupt like everybody else in Vegas, and there's the home building business went bankrupt. Unfortunately, we didn't sell Trophy Homes Utah. We came to a screaming halt. We purchased the old We're Perfect campus. Actually, the culinary arts division of UVU is over at one of our buildings over at the old We're Perfect campus. It's now called Canyon Park Technology Center. You're the first to know it. We renamed it that 15 years ago. Nobody calls it Canyon Park Technology Center, but now you know it's called Canyon Park Technology Center, not the old We're Perfect campus. Okay, you're the first to know. My wife still calls it the old We're Perfect campus. Connie, come on. We had it for 15 years. We bought that just in time for the tech market to crash in 2001. Timing couldn't have been worse. Developed and purchased mobile home parks, retail centers, office buildings, done a lot of real estate development over the years, land and lot development, loans to other developers, et cetera. Started or invested in several operating businesses as well. So my goal today is this. Henry James once said, real learning comes not so much from reasonable thinking, but from those illuminating moments that permanently warp the mind. Okay? My goal today is maybe permanently warp your mind just a little bit to realize that in every market cycle, every economic cycle, no matter what the situation is, no matter where things are going, there's opportunity. And first of all, you got to deal with the problems, because there's always problems when markets turn south or when trouble happens, whether it be in your personal life, your financial life, economic life, your spiritual life, whatever it may be. Troubles happen. And you have to deal with those. Things aren't always rosy, unfortunately. There's lots of thorns on those roses. So I hope to permanently warp your mind for just a little bit today. So we talked about focus on the openings, not the trees. In life, focus on the opportunities, not the obstacles. Let's watch this video for a second. This just came out, Extra Space Storage, which is a friend of mine started that business many years ago. You have storage units all over the country now. Put this video out, I love it. We'll watch this real quick.
652 MREs, yep. Double ply 2BB body bags for garbage. And for bodies. Gas mask. You know, you never want to trust a Russian gas mask. Kill you faster than a peanut at a traffic stop.
Okay, guys, here we go.
My name is Randall Erkenbrack. I go all over the world climbing.
Jen Kemp. I was the bank manager.
Aiden Batar from Mogadishu, Somalia.
My name is Alyssa Sizemore.
It was just a normal, average day.
And then
Everything changed.
6 tips to survive the coming apocalypse.
Yeah, it did feel like the end of the world. It was like you were drowning. You just couldn't get air.
I heard the screams. There was an auto pedestrian accident. The only thing she just kept saying is, Mom, I don't want to die. Am I going to die?
Ice and snow on Everest started going up and down. We determined it had to be an earthquake. We tried to run, and one of the boys said, don't look back, and here it came. The avalanche hit.
my career would be over after 13 years. I lost my job, my income.
My right leg
Suddenly, we hear a big explosion. That's where the war started, shelling the whole area indiscriminately. We thought that the war ended, but unfortunately, that was the beginning of another war. I lost my son.
There was no future because you had no idea what was going to happen. You only had that moment.
I didn't know what I was going to do.
Number 6.
When it comes to situations like this, you gotta have a plan.
Gosh, I had no plan. If you don't have a plan, then my alternate advice is you gotta just do it.
You have to fight to survive and have will to survive. And so you kind of go on autopilot.
You make the best of the situation, you figure it out, and cry your eyes out about it later.
Tip number 5. Don't panic or lose your head. That is not good in the apocalypse.
We were behind on the mortgage. I remember being in the car with my little brother, crying and stressing. He's like, so is all this doing anything for you? I kind of realized, I'm like, no.
Just keep breathing. At some point, it'll be okay again.
Number 4.
Have faith in the people around you.
Your life and their life depends on each other.
Let them be there for you.
The pilot who helped me, God bless him, I will never forget that.
Tip number 3.
Take it one day at a time.
You have to acclimate, you have to go slowly. It's one day, it's one step after another, even if it's little short 2-inch steps.
Patience is important. Someday you will get there in the end.
Number 2.
It is inside of all of us. You are stronger than you think you are.
You don't know your strength until you are in a difficult situation.
When your daughter's dancing without her leg, just her perseverance, you can't explain that type of happiness.
You will hurt sometimes, but you'll be able to take breaks. And now, number 1.
For surviving the coming apocalypse,
Drum roll.
You keep that hope. That hope gave me the strength to not look behind always. I'm always looking forward.
Having hope and attitude.
A good attitude.
It may feel like the world has ended,
But we have to deal with it. Tragedy and sadness is a part of our life.
but if you head down that path, worlds will open up to you.
Just never stop moving forward.
If you were filling up this space
With things that you need,
to get to that future,
what would you put in it? The journey is where all the goodness comes. And if you look deep enough, you'll understand. Just go for it and enjoy the journey. Wow. You never know where you'll end up.
But still, a working gas mask would be very nice.
The Everest climber, Randall Erkenbrock, is actually a good friend of mine. He lives right here, grew up in Provo. He and I went to high school together. You can be a survivor through good times and bad. There's opportunities both in good times and bad times, and you gotta have a plan. You gotta work forward. You gotta move. You gotta keep your wits about you. Through every cycle, whether personal, financial, economical, spiritual, you can survive and prosper. One thing I've learned is that learn a lot more in bad times than good. Human nature is we think we're real smart. When things are good and everything, the rising tide raises all ships. You think you're really great. But when bad times, you really find out what you're made of. But nobody said it'd be fun. I wish it was fun, but it's not fun. Mae West, famous movie star many years ago, she says, I've been rich and I've been poor, but believe me, baby, rich is better. It is better, it's more fun. But sometimes we have to go through both. Our home building business, let's tell you about trophy homes. We sold the Las Vegas trophy homes in 2006. We kept and grew trophy homes. We had over 100 employees, 14 projects. We were on target in 2008 to build over 500 homes. The market literally collapsed nearly overnight. We were building 30, 35 houses a month the first quarter of 2008. The second quarter, we did about 20 the whole quarter. And the third quarter, it went 0, fourth quarter, 0. We're done. There was no business left. There was no financing. We had banks coming to our office say, we can't lend anymore. We're pulling out of Utah. We have no money. You can't lend, no construction loans. There was no market. There was no buyers. There's no business. So basically, it collapsed virtually almost overnight. We laid everyone off. I was the last one there. December 31st, 2008, shut the doors, and we were done. Partners build. It was not fun. So first of all, you deal with the shock and the depression, because it's not that easy. It's not that easy to turn around and just, okay, let's get going. Really lost more in 6 months than made in nearly 20 years. Really what I want to do is curl up in a ball. But realized what I really had to do is I had to do something. So it's like riding a bike. If you stand still, what happens? You tip over. So we formulated a plan and started figuring out, okay, what can we do? First of all, we did workouts on the current projects we had. We started buying some foreclosed housing lists. People weren't buying new houses, so we said, well, let's buy foreclosed houses. We were buying houses in Las Vegas that I had built and sold for $300,000 to $400,000. We were buying those same houses for $50,000 or $60,000. So it's got to work. We started a trucking company. Didn't work out that great, but we started throwing spaghetti at the wall. We started a trucking company. We ran oil trucks in North Dakota. We leased trailers in North Dakota. So the oil boom was going on there. Started a new partnership. We really determined we had to look forward instead of backward. We had to look forward. We did workouts with lenders. We raised new capital. Banks stopped lending, so we raised capital to build complete projects. We had investors put money together. We created our own construction lending business. We had several projects before foreclosed on. They weren't all successful. Negotiated lots of personal guarantees. I'll be making payments literally the rest of my life on some of these personal guarantees. Chose not to take out bankruptcy. Could have done it. I was advised to do it by multiple attorneys. Decided I didn't want to do that. It just wasn't my style. I felt like I wanted to try and pay people back what we could, even if it was the pennies on the dollars. A lot of developers did. I had 2 or 3 partners that took out bankruptcy. I don't fault them. It just wasn't the thing for me to do. But I felt better trying to do workouts. We formulated a plan of action. We did whatever it took to survive. We bought back several of our projects that we had built. For example, we had a project in St. George. Our cost on the project was approximately $65,000 to $70,000 per lot. That bank failed. It was Arkansas National Bank. That bank failed on May 9th, 2008. I'll never forget that day. And a year later, we bought back that project back from the FDIC for $8,000 a lot. Our cost was $65,000 a lot. I knew what it cost to build the thing. I knew it had to make sense. I didn't know when, but it had to make sense. We put some partners together, put some investors together. We bought back the project. We're still building it out today. Many banks failed. We bought lots and houses at foreclosure auctions. We hunkered down. We held on to cash wherever possible. Our existing commercial projects, we have a number of office buildings, et cetera. They emptied out nearly overnight. We had companies that took out bankruptcy. They scaled back. People just literally walked out in the middle of the night, leaving all their desks, all their stuff there. We had to go clean the stuff out. And we just had to do whatever we had to do. We were doing rents before the market tanked. Our rents were around $18, $19, $20 a square foot. We were doing deals during the middle of the recession at $2, $3, $4, $5 a foot. Whatever we could get. We kind of did it based on the airplane theory. Once that plane's taken off, you'll never recover that revenue in the seat. We'd rather get $1 a foot than nothing a foot. So we did whatever we had to do. Because if we can't beat them, join them. Since new homes, people weren't buying new homes, we were buying foreclosed homes. We were buying in some of the very, very worst markets, Florida, Arizona, Las Vegas. Banks weren't lending. So what did we do? We started our own private lending. Now, this was over a course of about an 18, 24-month period, by the way. It wasn't like we turned around the next day and started fixing things. First of all, you had to deal with the problems. And in fact, it was too soon to jump back in the market in 2008, 2009. We all said the smartest guys in the business were sipping margaritas in Hawaii, waiting for the market to come back. So for the first 12 to 18 months, we looked for opportunities. We tried to figure things out. We put things together. But there was no big rush to get back into it. So we started our own private lending fund. Banks weren't lending, so we said, let's create a lending fund. We'll be the lenders. First of all, we did it to lend on our own projects. Then we expanded to lend other people's projects and other people buying homes and buying commercial office buildings and whatever it may be. We knew what it cost to build these things. If people could buy them for 20, 25, 30 cents on the dollar, we were okay lending them money to buy those projects. We expanded into a private lending fund, which we're running and operating today. Banks still have a very difficult time lending. It takes banks forever to make a loan, and they're extremely cautious, which they should be. So we've created a private lending fund. We're basically a private bank now. We do construction acquisition loans for investors, builders, and developers. We started buying apartment buildings. First of all, we started buying houses and flipping houses. But then we said what we really wanted to do is create a long-term income stream. We didn't want to just turn and make a little bit of money here and there. And we made a living at it. It's not like we make a lot of money. But we wanted to create a long-term income stream and take advantage of the depressed market, buy properties, and take advantage of the incredible financing. If you can get financing, it's great. It's great when you can borrow money at 4%. Remember, a first building at Jamestown, we got 14.75%. But it's really hard to do. You have to put more cash into it. You got to bring investors in. You got to have guarantors. It's a lot harder, but there's opportunity. So we started buying second and third tier markets, Kansas City, Madison, Las Vegas, Tempe, Arizona, et cetera. Created new partnerships with new investors, new banks, new relationships. So what have I learned? What have I learned through all this turmoil, this tsunami, this financial tsunami that hit? Number one, if it's good, it's going to get bad. If it's bad, it's going to get good. You know, we think linearly. Human nature is we tend to think linearly. We think if things are bad, they're going to get bad forever. If we were to draw a line how we think, we would draw a line like things are bad, they're just going to continue getting bad, and it's going to go to hell in a handbasket, and the world's going to fall apart, and there's no chance. Or if things are going great, what happens? Everybody thinks, oh, it's incredible, I wish I bought that stock, I wish I bought that, it's going higher and higher, and it's going to the sky. It doesn't go to the sky. Trees don't go to the sky, and nothing ever falls apart completely. The truth of the matter is if you were to draw a graph of what reality is, it's like this. Markets go up, markets go down. Generally, over time, they tend to go up. It's like a man walking up a stairs with a yo-yo. They tend to go up, and it goes up and down, but over time, it tends to go up. And when things go down, they tend to go down, but they eventually turn. So when things are bad, look at it as an opportunity. It's going to get good. If things are good, be fearful. It's going to get bad. Most important thing is to do something. Don't just sit and wait on the sidelines and think, world's falling apart, no chance, there's no opportunity, there's no nothing. Do something. Formulate a plan and do something. Don't panic. You see, in a crisis, the worst thing to do is panic. Studies have been done in times of crisis, whether it's emotional, financial, 9/11, or any other kind of crisis, 70% of all people either freeze or panic and absolutely don't know what to do and just sit. They said do-nothingers. They walk around like zombies. You got to do something. You got to formulate a plan. Even if it's not a great plan, formulate a plan, and you got to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C sub 1, sub 2, sub 3. You've got to be nimble. You got to make changes. 2013, remember what happened in 2013? Boston Marathon. I was running the Boston Marathon in 2013, and just finished the race. Had gone across, it was cold, went into the medical tent, and all of a sudden, kaboom! Just something went off. I looked at the nurse, we looked at me, everything froze. Everybody just looked at each other. And I said, was that a bomb? And she looked at me and said, I don't know. 7 seconds later, kaboom, another one went off. And I said, I'm getting out of here. You're going to need room in this tent. I'm going. I went out of that thing. I looked down, there's a wave of people just spilling through the finish line, yellow shirts everywhere, police sirens everywhere. Policemen are coming, going on golf carts, are coming crazy. They're yelling, go, 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 everybody get out of here, evacuate, evacuate. I thought, where am I going to go? Well, everybody was streaming straight down the finish line. It was about 300 or 400 yards of gated finish line. There's fences all the way along. I thought, if there's another bombs going off, this is where it's going to go off. I'm going sideways. I'm not going down. I went over to the fence. I climbed, after running a 26-mile marathon, struggled up over the fence, rolled over, and went east. Everybody else going east, north, south. I was going east, west. I was getting out of there as fast as I could. You got to formulate a plan. You got to think. Create a clear and distinct goal. When I was at BYU, the greatest semester I ever spent at BYU was I went with a couple of buddies, and we decided we wanted to travel through Africa. So we decided, well, we wanted to start. We started in Nairobi, and we flew to Nairobi. We really didn't know exactly where we were going to go, but we knew where we wanted to finish up was Cape Town. So we started in Nairobi, Kenya. We knew we wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but everything else in between, that we'll figure it out as we went along. It was the greatest semester I ever had, because I spent 5 months over the hitchhiking through Africa, and all we really knew was where we started and we were going to end. But what I learned from that is I learned to lose the fear of the future. the fear of what's ahead, the fear of tomorrow. We can figure it out. You can always figure one day at a time. And we just worked our way down through Africa. We went across borders that were closed, we had to slip $50 bills to get across the border. We had to do whatever we had to do to get across. And we just figured it out as we went along. But we had our firm goal in mind. We wanted to get to Cape Town. 4.5 months later, we arrived in Cape Town. So you got to have a goal. Ours, as far as financially, getting back to the present, our goal was to survive and create a sustainable, conservative, reliable income stream through good times and bad. Honestly, I had no longer any interest in the home building business. Home building business is a buy and sell model. I didn't want to buy and sell anymore. I wanted to continue to build an income stream that's sustainable through good times and bad. It's going to go up and down still, but sustainable. So you have to do whatever it takes to accomplish your goal. Dream. Have dreams. Think big. When times are good, look around and see what the opportunities are. And when times are bad, there are even greater opportunities. Some of the greatest fortunes that ever been created in America have been created during bad times. Happy are those who dream dreams and are willing to pay the price to make them come true. Set a goal. Write them down. Visualize. Think about it. Think about what that goal is. It's that put-in, that little put-in above Skull Rapid. It's Cape Town. Whatever it takes, put it in your mind. Think about it every day. Visualize it. See yourself there and work for it and do whatever you have to do to get there. Einstein said, genius is seeing what everyone else sees, but thinking what no one else thinks. See, when the world was collapsing, everybody's thinking it's going to go to hell in a handbasket, nothing's going to happen, we're going to be plowing up our lawns and planting corn, the apocalypse is here. It wasn't. It did go down for about 3 or 4 years, but there was tremendous opportunities. Think what no one else thinks. See what everybody else sees, but think what no one else thinks. So we started buying houses, apartments, finished lots and land. Everything everybody else wanted to get rid of, we started buying. Now, did we have any money? No, didn't have any money. Do we have to pull investors together? Yes. We had to get some strong, courageous investors. And believe me, it took some talking. And I had a lot of people say, why in the world would I ever invest in real estate now? I said, because of that exact same notion. That's why, because everybody else thinks the same thing. Everybody else thinks it's a terrible time. It's the best time ever. You're buying $8,000 lots instead of $65,000 lots. And then we started lending. Nobody else would lend. We started lending. You can survive in bad times. Look for and create opportunities. Many of the best opportunities come in the worst of times. But you have to throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall. We tried trucking. It didn't work very well. We tried leasing trucks up in North Dakota. It worked okay. But we bought finished lots in Spring. There was for example, there was a project in Springville, and there's 44 finished lots. A bank was selling. We found out on a Friday that they were going to go to auction on Tuesday. We talked with the bank, and they said they'd take $18,000 a lot. I know what it costs to develop those lots. It costs, the hard costs, land with free land was $45,000 to $50,000 a lot. At $18,000 a lot, we can make this thing work. I don't know when the market's going to turn, but we'll buy it. So we put together some investors, made a bunch of calls to a bunch of investors, put a little partnership together. On Tuesday, that was on a Friday, on Tuesday, 3 days later, we bid at the auction, we got it. On Wednesday, we closed. On Thursday, spent 2 weeks down the Grand Canyon on a river trip. I came back from the Grand Canyon, and guess what? We had offers to buy those lots from builders for $44,000 a lot. We just bought them for $18,000 a lot. Now, it took about 2 years. We had to take terms. We had to be creative. We had to do some subordination. We had to do whatever we had to do. But we did very, very well in those. BlackRock. BlackRock was a project that we developed. This right here, BlackRock. BlackRock is a project we developed up in Park City. We developed 250 lots. We spent 6 years developing this project. 250 lots. Our cost was about $100,000 per lot. That was our hard cost to develop this project. We had a $10 million loan. We had $12 million in equity. We thought we were in great shape. Wrong. When we finished the project in 2006, it was appraised at $36 million, or about $150,000 a lot. Guess what it was appraised at 2 years later? Any guesses? $16,000 a lot. That's what it was appraised at. The value had gone from 36 million to 3.6 million. It had dropped by 90%. I thought, oh man, there's got to be a way to do this thing. So I tried and tried and tried. I tried to get investors to say, this is the deal, guys, I know this will work. If we can buy this thing for 3.6 million, $18,000 a lot or 60, whatever it was, I said, we'll do great. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get anybody to do it. One of my partners on the project, bless his heart, he went and got a hard money loan, a private loan from another private lending group. I would have never lent on it, but he lent and raised the money, bought the project. He's killing it now, absolutely killing it. He's selling 6, 7 houses a month, and guess who's his lender? We are. We're his construction lender, because he can't get a loan. He had to take out bankruptcy. He can't get a loan, but he's doing awesome, and he's going to do great. He's sold 200 houses 180 houses over the past 3 years. And he's doing awesome. In fact, he's bought some more land. Our costs, let's see, I'll tell you, we started trucking, lending, et cetera. Warren Buffett said, when others are greedy, be fearful. When others are fearful, be greedy. I call it be opportunistic. When everybody's talking about all the money they're making, whether it's real estate or stocks or whatever, start to shake and tremble, okay? When we built an assisted living center down in Las Vegas. I had our hairdresser. We had a little hair shop in the assisted living center. And she asked me one day, she said, Stan, what do you think about house flipping? I go, what do you mean by house flipping? She says, well, we wait in line, we spend the night in a line, and we'll buy a house at a new project in Las Vegas, and then within a week or two, we can sell our position for like 10 or 20 grand. It's amazing. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. My first thought was, it's the end. It's the beginning of the end. If my hairdresser is out buying houses and she could never qualify for the house or can qualify for the house and turn around flipping, I know it's trouble. And shortly thereafter we sold Trophy, thank heavens. So how do you prosper? Well, remember Joseph. Remember the story of Joseph, Joseph's amazing Technicolor dream coat. Joseph was sold into Egypt. During 7 years of plenty, they set a lot of food aside. In 7 years of plenty, when times are good, you got to prepare for the bad time. You got to prepare for the 7 years of famine. Now, interesting, economic cycles typically have 7 to 8 years of pretty good times, and then 1 or 2 years of bad times. The good times far outweigh the bad times, but the bad times are horrible when they hit. Build up cash and liquidity. Prepare for the rainy day. Save aggressively. Pay down debt. Pay down debt. I totally admire Ivory Holmes. Clark Ivory, he saw this thing coming. I didn't see it coming. I saw it coming in Las Vegas. I didn't see it coming in Utah. Clark Ivory, they started paying off debt. They started building up their cash reserves. By the time the market tanked, they struggled like everybody else struggled. But they made it through, and they did great. We didn't. We were expanding when markets were good. I wish I hadn't, but we did. Pay down debt. Winston Churchill said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. It's the courage to continue. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep working. You got to keep moving forward. You got to have a plan. You got to work your plan. You got to work. You got to make things happen. And you do, there's opportunities. There's great opportunities. And when things are going great, don't think it's always going to be great. That's a good time to put money away, buy property, income property, pay down debt. Get ready for the bad times, because they will come. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is a courage to continue that counts. So what would I do different? I wish I got out of the home building business in Utah. Stayed modest sized. Wish I hadn't grown so much during bad times. Built more cash and stayed conservative. We had our pedal to the metal when things were good. I wish we had done just exactly the opposite. We committed heavily into highly leveraged cyclical business. Be careful, highly leveraged cyclical businesses. They will take you down at one time or the other. I had a guru in the home building business used to tell us back in the 80s and 90s, he'd say, if you stay in this building long enough, you're going to go broke. Stay in this business long enough, you're going to go broke. I thought, no, we're not going to go broke. We're too smart. We're too handsome, whatever it is. It happens. There's a Texas bumper sticker that says, oh, Lord, please give us another oil boom, and I promise I won't piss it away next time. When the boom hits, put money away. Don't piss it away. You're never really rich till you're making money while you're sleeping. Build long-term income stream. Buy houses. There's a great opportunities today. Buy income property. Buy it, rent it, fix it up. If you don't have any money, get investors together. If you have the right property, you can get investors. You can get money. Get somebody, if you can't qualify, if you have bad credit, you get it somebody who has good credit. Create partnerships. There are opportunities in any real estate cycle, no matter what it is. And last of all, never give up. Winston Churchill said that. The depths of World War II, never give up, never give up, never, never, never give up. Thank you very much. We've got 7 minutes for quick Q&A, and if you'd like to stay afterwards, I'm happy to stay afterwards as well, but any Q&A, go ahead. Yes, sir.
So are you a hard money lender, or do you just do private money lending?
I call it private lending. I call it hard money lending is typically a lot more expensive, maybe like 5 to 10 points and 15 to 20% interest. We're typically 2 to 3 points and maybe 11 to 12% interest. We try and be at the lower end of the spectrum because we get safer deals. We let the other guys take the big, real risky deals. So we do. So I call again kind of the tier. You got banks down here, you got private lending in between, and you got hard money lending. Is the more expensive, highly aggressive and risky deals. Yeah. Questions?
Can you tell
Yes,
us about your time with Seven Peaks Water Park?
Yeah, did I put that on the resume? Yeah. It was sold at auction. How did you know that, by the way? I was curious.
I just checked it out just now.
Oh, okay. Seven Peaks was an insurance company owned Seven Peaks, and they actually stole a lot of money out of the till and weren't paying the banks, et cetera. So the insurance company took it back. They put it up at auction. I had a friend that wanted to buy it. And so we went to the auction, and the auction was like on a Wednesday. And as we're going to the auction, I called my friend at one of the local banks. I said, Don Norton at Far West Bank. I said, Don, I said, we're going to bid on Seven Peaks Water Park this afternoon. Could you make us a loan? We got to close in a week. He said, well, let me know if you can do it. We'll do our best. So we bid on it, and it was an open auction. We bid I think it was $3 million. And closed on a week later. We pulled together the big financing, the equity financing, and then we ran and operated it I was involved in it for about a year, and then I sold out to my 2 partners, and then they sold it. They had it for another about 3 or 4 years, and they sold out to the current owners.
What led you to selling your share?
It's a little bit of a dysfunctional partnership. There's 2 brothers that didn't get along that great. And I felt like I was Switzerland. I was kind of in the middle all the time, trying to referee it. And I don't like to be Switzerland. I said, why don't you guys just buy me out? So I just, my motto is when you're in a partnership, if you have bad partners, either buy out, sell out, or get out. It's not worth it. Life's too short. Life's too short to be partners. And they're great guys. I love them both to death. But they just didn't get along that super well. And I just didn't like to be in the middle of it. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Great question. Everybody hear the questions? It's always the toughest thing. Starting out is the hardest. I mean, it's super hard to start out. There's no question. It's like a rocket ship launching, right? 50% of the energy of a rocket ship is about the first 200 feet. And then it starts to get a little bit easier. If you know students, pull some students together. Everybody knows 3 or 4 Vivint guys, right? They're all out making $200,000-$300,000 a year, right? They all have money. Find somebody, You can find, you can always, if you find the right deal, you do your research, you make sure you put your numbers together. Don't be pie in the sky. Be very conservative with your numbers. Put your numbers together. You can find investors. Start mining your social network. You have a social network. You have friends and family. You have uncles and aunts. Everybody has what they call DDFNF, dentists, doctors, friends, and fools, right? You always find somebody. But you may have to put 2 or 3 investors together. Start small. You don't have to start out with buying a 100-unit apartment complex. Start out with buying a single-family home. If you find the right deal, you can always find investors, and maybe people right around you. Some of the very best partners I've had over the years have been friends from BYU. That we were all at school together. And it's amazing how often we come back together again and still do business together. You got to scramble. You got to look it up. You got to talk to everybody you know, and you can find people. Now, you may not be able to go find people to raise $10 million the first time, but I bet you can find somebody to raise 40 or 50,000 or 100 grand, whatever it may be. Good question, though. Yes?
So you mentioned finding the right deal when you were answering his question. What guidelines do you use to find the right deal?
Great question. Look for something that's selling for less than the next door neighbor. I mean, it's simplified, obviously, but if you have 10 houses that are together, and one's selling for 120,000, everything else is selling for, the last one, you do your homework, you do a multiple listing, and see other comparable houses sold for 150, 160, there may be an opportunity there. And maybe the opportunity is by closing quickly. For example, a good friend of mine was looking at a lot up in Sherwood Hills, and their asking price was like $320,000 at the asking price. It had gone in and out of escrow 2 or 3 times. People had put it in escrow and they couldn't close. He went to him and he asked me, he said, hey, if I can get this thing for a good price, will you make us a loan from our debt fund? I said, yeah. So he went and offered, hey, I'll give you $240,000. I'll close in 5 business days, all cash. They said, okay. I took it. So he got it for $50,000, $60,000 less. The other thing he did is when he looked at it, he thought, and he came to me, he said, what do you think about this lot? It's a great big lot. I said, I bet you could split that lot. It was about almost an acre lot. I said, I bet you could cut that lot in half. You have to rezone it. But we looked at it, and he didn't know for sure. We went and talked to the city, thought it was a good chance. He's just completed that lot split on it right now. Now he's got 2 lots worth about $225,000 each. So $450,000, he bought it for $240,000. So sometimes the opportunity is the value, but sometimes the opportunity is that you can offer, if you can offer an all-cash deal. Our lending fund lends to a lot of people like that. They find great deals, they got to close quick, all cash, and they can move through it. They don't have to wait 3 months to get a bank loan. So it may be timing, it may be just keeping your ears out. But look for comps, look for other things they're selling for, and think what nobody else thinks. For example, in the apartment projects that we're buying now, we buy kind of, B- properties and B to B+ locations. Maybe C+ properties that have just kind of been beaten down and need some work on it. We'll buy the properties typically we're buying them for $40,000, $50,000 a door. We'll spend $10,000 to $20,000 a door fixing them up. So our costs are maybe $60,000. When we're done, they're worth about $80,000. So you have to add value. Maybe you can't just buy it and there may or may not be a lot of value today, but if you think what no one else thinks, say, what can I do to that property? When I walk into property and it's all beautiful and nice new paint and nice new carpet, I go, there's nothing here. There's no opportunity here. It's already been fixed up, already been done. But I look for a property, if I see a property that's kind of beat up and there's trash on the front lawn and they haven't built the back stairs, or there's no good landscaping, or the kitchen looks lousy, I think, hey, you know what? Spend $10,000, $15,000 fixing that thing up, probably add $20,000, $30,000 of value. So, but that comes through experience and looking around, and you got to look at a lot of properties. You got to walk a lot of properties. My wife will attest that wherever we go, we go look through houses. We go to Maine, look through houses. We go to Hawaii. I'm never going to buy a house in Maine or Hawaii, but I like to look at houses. And that's how you learn. Just look and see and look for opportunities. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Where in the country are you currently focused on investing?
In the apartment business, we're buying in Kansas City. We have about 8 properties in Kansas City now. We bought in Louisville. We have another property we just put in escrow in Louisville, Kentucky. We have some in Madison, Wisconsin. We have one we just closed in Las Vegas. We have one we're selling right now in Tempe. So we're kind of focused a little bit on the Midwest just because we're looking at more like 2nd and 3rd tier type markets. You buy on the coast where everybody else is buying, and the prices are too high. People are buying for $200,000, $300,000 a unit or 4.5 cap rates. We're trying to buy at 7.5 cap rates. If you took real estate class, maybe if you understand what cap rates, but you're basically look for places where everybody else doesn't want to go. Any other questions? Thank you very much. It's been great to be with you. I'd be welcome. I'm happy to stay after if you want. Thank you. Appreciate it.